I am saddened to see what's happening to the Ukrainian innocent citizens. It's horrible. But we have to remember this. Ukraine is ranked as one of the top 3 most corrupt governments in the world. Okay, you have Ukraine, you have Colombia, and you have Brazil. Extremely corrupt nations. As a result, you don't know what's going on. Their people are being sold down the river, left and right, and you have foreign entities sticking their hands into the Ukrainian government, reaching in and saying things like, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you don't get the $1 billion. You guys remember that one? Yeah. Foreign entities, foreign governments such as the United States, in the form of woke liberal leaders like Joe Biden, involving themselves in Ukraine. So what else is at stake in Ukraine? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It's not just us breaking our word, and I say us, it's not us. It is our poor leadership that's been breaking our word, representing us with Russia. But it's also what they have at stake financially and also from a corruption standpoint in Ukraine. What is Russia going to find out if they go in and uproot the Ukrainian government? That's a good question. I don't know. Some say they're going to find an extremely deep connection between the West, the woke West, that is Biden, okay, and Biden's son perhaps, and Ukrainian corrupt politics. I think it's very possible. Our leaders have ignored him, and they've missed a golden opportunity to avert a regional war and now potentially a world war. What do you guys think? Well, let me know. Leslie's there. We've got DK. We've got a couple other people who've chimed in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play for you guys a few clips that backs up this introductory statement. And let me go ahead and pull these guys up here. You have some quotes back here, and we're looking at Sleepy Joe, of course, in the background. And we got Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham just teeing off. If you can take a look at that one, look at that. Lindsey Graham just teeing off. Let me just change this here. So basically, Lindsey Graham is calling for the assassination of Vladimir Putin. He's basically a totalitarian leader. However, calling for the assassination for the head of a state is extremely reckless and extremely dangerous. And who is doing this? Reckless Democrats, reckless woke Democrats, and also, who is it? Rhino Republicans, okay? Lindsey Graham, they used to call him Lindsey Grahamnesty because he was always for amnesty. Not sure if he wants to be on the left side or the right side of an issue. Now, all of a sudden, Lindsey Grahamnesty is beating the war drums and putting our nation at greater risk. When you start discussing the assassination of a head of a state, you put our own leaders at risk as well, too, of being targeted for assassination. This is completely reckless, completely ignorant of Lindsey Graham to do this. I'm not surprised. Him and John McCain, and God rest his soul, John McCain was also a loose cannon as well, too. He continued to try to inflame and get us into foreign wars and conflicts. This is not something that is wise for the U.S. to do, particularly with a nuclear-armed nation such as Russia. Now, if there are plans that are quiet and they're behind the scenes, I understand that. Perhaps that is a strategy that needs to be looked at. But for a head of state or one of our top leaders to be saying this is foolish. Absolutely foolish. So we've got Sleepy Joe Biden. He confuses a few things.
Let's check in with the leader of the free world who has trouble identifying his Ukrainians from his Iranians. And now he has Russia and Ukraine confused.
How do we get to the place where, Putin decides he's going to just invade Russia? Nothing like this has happened since World War II.
Joe, Putin invaded Ukraine, not Russia. He's president of Russia. He's
Sleepy
not invaded Russia. It's the smaller country next door. Maybe get a refresher from Kamala to help you out.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Oh boy, Kamala. This was from 2 months ago.
I'm afraid it's in English.
December of 2021.
You have talked a lot about security guarantees, and now we've seen your proposals.
I'm going to have to turn around
You
and...
also say you have no intention of invading Ukraine. So will you guarantee unconditionally that you will not invade Ukraine or any other sovereign country, or does that depend on how negotiations go? And another question, what is it, do you think, that the West does not understand about Russia or about your intentions? Thank you.
It's the issue of security. He's asking for security. Therefore, it's not just the course of negotiations. Don't we know? I've already said many times, and you probably know well. Not a single inch to the east, as I referenced earlier. They told us in the 90s. That was Secretary of State James Baker. Told his Russian counterpart. He said, so what happened? They cheated. They just blatantly deceived us. 5 waves of NATO enlargement. And now in Romania and in Poland, there are corresponding missile systems. This is what it's all about. You should understand, we are not threatening anyone. Did we come here to the borders of the UK or somewhere else? They came to us, and now they're saying, no, Ukraine will also join NATO. This means that there will be missile systems there as well. Or will there be bases and strike systems on a bilateral basis with Ukraine? That's what we're talking about. And you demand some kind of guarantee from me? You must give us a guarantee, and you, that is, immediately give us a guarantee. And did Mexico and the United States never have any territorial issues? And to whom California belonged to before? What about Texas? Have you forgotten? Or what? Okay, everything has calmed down. Okay? But we also try to remember how Ukraine was created. Who created Ukraine? Vladimir Lenin, he said. He created the Soviet Union as well. The Union Treaty of 1922 and 1924, the Constitution. True, the Constitution was after, but the issue is security now. He's been saying for years exactly what his demands are. His demands are security, one. He does not want NATO to expand eastward, as was guaranteed to Russia by Secretary of State James Baker during the 1901 treaty meetings. He also does not want the placement of nuclear missiles on the border of Russia, which would be in Ukraine. He's been saying this. They went into negotiations. As a matter of fact, it was December of 2021. They went into negotiations. That is the Biden-Harris administration with the Russians. And again, the Russians asked for them to agree to not place missiles in Ukraine and to agree to not expand NATO into Ukraine. And you know what? They said it was a non-starter. That is the Biden-Harris administration. They said no. So unbeknownst to the entire American public, the Biden-Harris administration has been reneging on commitments that the United States has had with Russia for many, many years. This is something that has been created, unnecessarily so, a conflict, a confrontation between the West, the United States, NATO, and even Ukraine and Russia. Created by who? Created by the woke Biden administration. It originated with the Obama administration. There was a lot of tension, as you might remember, between Obama and also between Putin, particularly at the end of his presidency. So what do we have now? We have Biden, which is kind of like Obama too, but just a puppet version of him. And what he's doing is, hey Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Hey, what's up, Christopher? Thanks for joining us. So basically we have a puppet version of Obama right now, who is basically echoing what Obama wanted to do. He wants to put pressure on Russia, and he wants to do it regardless of U.S. commitments. But little does he let us know that those commitments could put us as a nation at huge, huge risk. This is a reckless and an incompetent way of conducting foreign policy. You cannot continue to renege on agreements if you're dealing with what should be a mutual opponent, right, when you're negotiating. When I say mutual, I'm talking about a country that has a nuclear arsenal that's as strong as ours, or perhaps even stronger than ours. This is extremely reckless. It should not be taking place. We should not be in a new Cold War with Russia, but somehow we are. We should not be poking at a nuclear-armed Russia when 2 years ago we had no issues with Russia. This has been completely and totally mismanaged by the Biden administration. Now, I'll throw one more angle on this, and I talked about it the other day, why we're really in this situation, meaning why Russia has invaded Ukraine. Well, I've expanded on it more today, going back to the treaty and how the treaty's been broken, etc. Looking at the exact words of Vladimir Putin. He's telecasted it to us for a few years now. It should be no secret. If you can use the woke approach that the West usually uses in domestic politics, we can say, oh, he doesn't mean it. He's just Hitler. He wants to take these countries and those countries and those countries. We don't know that's not the case. However, if you look at what Putin has said, he's been very consistent. He said, no missiles on our border. And he said, do not add NATO, an expansion of NATO right next to Russia. What's up, Chris? What's up? Yeah, Biden's proxy war with a dual proxy. Absolutely, it is a proxy war. No doubt about it. So, mentioning Biden brings up another component, and that is this. What does the West, that is the Biden administration, it's not really the West, but the Biden administration, what stakes do they have in Ukraine? Why are they trying so hard to keep Russia from regaining parts of Ukraine? Now, again, I understand the humanitarian component. I sympathize. I am saddened to see what's happening to the Ukrainian innocent citizens. It's horrible. But we have to remember this. Ukraine is ranked as one of the top 3 most corrupt governments in the world. Okay, you have Ukraine, you have Colombia, and you have Brazil. Extremely corrupt nations. As a result, you don't know what's going on. Their people are being sold down the river, left and right, and you have foreign entities sticking their hands into the Ukrainian government, reaching in and saying things like, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you don't get the $1 billion. You guys remember that one? Yeah. Foreign entities, foreign governments such as the United States, in the form of woke liberal leaders like Joe Biden, involving themselves in Ukraine. So what else is at stake in Ukraine? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It's not just us breaking our word, and I say us, it's not us. It is our poor leadership that's been breaking our word, representing us with Russia. But it's also what they have at stake financially and also from a corruption standpoint in Ukraine. What is Russia going to find out if they go in and uproot the Ukrainian government? That's a good question. I don't know. Some say they're going to find an extremely deep connection between the West, the woke West, that is Biden, okay, and Biden's son perhaps, and Ukrainian corrupt politics. I think it's very possible. At the least, we know what Joe Biden said, and it's on tape. He said he was not going to give $1 billion of U.S. aid if they didn't fire a prosecutor that was investigating his son's company, a company he had a huge stake in, Burisma Energy, okay, in Ukraine. That in itself is corruption. So, why is Joe Biden even president? That's a discussion for another day. However, in the meantime, this is why we're here. We have broken the trust. We have basically fumbled the ball on international diplomacy. We have overplayed our hand. It's not us again. It's woke leaderships. We've overplayed our hand, assuming we could use these bullying tactics of belittling, breaking down, berating, and canceling our opponent, as what's been happening in domestic policies or domestic politics in the United States among the woke left. They thought they could take it internationally. But what's happened? You cannot apply this like it's a cookie cutter recipe because you're dealing with a country that is nuclear armed and sees you now, meaning us, unfortunately, as an existential threat. This is extremely dangerous. And I think Biden needs to pull back and get his advisors together and actually lead for once and tell them we need to regain the trust of Russia and stop berating, belittling, and trying to cancel them. But that seems almost too commonsensical for the left to do. We'll find out. What do you guys think? Share your opinions. We got a few opinions here. Blinken says, Blinken is something else, by the way. Blinken says, we won't ban Russian oil without permission from the EU. Weaklings, absolutely. So you have incompetence and you have weakness. Combined together, that leads to a disaster when dealing with strongman opponents like Vladimir Putin. So what did Trump say? Purportedly, at least he said, I take him for his word. He basically said that he respected Vladimir Putin, but he told him, if you go into Ukraine, we will bomb Moscow. That's what Trump has reported to have said. He says it himself that he said that. I take him for face value. I think he said that because Trump, again, is a person who's not weak, and he's also a person who tries to show respect in diplomacy. Big, big difference from the woke left. What do they try and do again? They belittle, they berate, and they cancel. That's their approach. That's what they try to do to President Trump. That's what they've been doing across the board to conservatives. And you know what? That's what they're trying to do to Vladimir Putin. But Putin has a nuclear armed arsenal. And he better walk back on that stuff because we don't need to be getting into a nuclear armed conflict with Russia. So let's see. We've got another comment from Christopher Gaines. What did Chris say? Chris said Biden's conflict of interest in Ukraine. He has tons of them, absolutely. But the left got caught on the fake Trump collusion. It is incredible. Some of this stuff, I mean, you couldn't make it up because it is so crazy and so wild. So the stuff that they are trying to open, there we go. Fake collusion, which was actually the Democrats interfering in the Trump candidacy in 2016. Many tracks cover it in both countries. Absolutely. It is amazing. It's tough to make this stuff up. This entanglement of the woke left, what they've done. I had someone ask the other day, it was Richard Vi, he said, what's worse, the totalitarian leaders of Russia, right? Putin, Xi, maybe the North Korean leader, what's worse, them or Trudeau and Biden's assistants, etc.? Who's worse? Well, obviously, some are worse from a totalitarian standpoint. I wouldn't want to live in Russia personally, between you guys. Obviously, I'm assuming you guys wouldn't either. However, we're in a country where we also have a soft form of totalitarianism growing by leaps and bounds. And it's going to become a hard form of it if we're not careful. So we've seen what they've been doing with the truckers, right? In Canada, we've seen what they've done with some of the people who knew people, who talked to people before the January 6th march and what have you. So we're seeing what they're doing. The totalitarian habits and desire is not being hidden. It's coming out in full force. And so, again, I think they're all bad. But really what I see on a bigger picture is Russia trying to avoid and avert the growth, the expansion of NATO, and of missiles, etc., but also the expansion of the New World Order. And the New World Order is a movement of the radical left and also the elitists of the world. And so this is something that we will cover the next time. Again, the New World Order is something that is expanding, and they're trying to push it by leaps and bounds. And I think in this particular case, they bit off more than they can chew. Hopefully, we don't get messed up in this whole dispute back and forth between the West and Russia. It'll be interesting to see what goes on next. Thank you, Patriots, for joining us. Please continue to post on the Underground Conservatives and go ahead and like some of our posts and make comments. We're fighting back against cancel culture. Facebook's been trying to cancel us, but we've been fighting back very effectively, thankfully. And as a result, we've survived a number of attempts of them to shut us down. And I think we're coming back stronger now. We do have a few little bans they placed on us, but we're coming back from it. So we're almost cleared of all of them. So again, continue to support us. Please share us with others. We also have the Patriot Nation. That is the YouTube page. Please subscribe to that and share it with others if you have a chance, because again, YouTube doesn't want to go out and share what we're talking about. YouTube wants to hide it. They want to put it under a rock and pretend it doesn't exist, because again, they want to belittle, berate, and cancel anybody who has an opposing view. So we got to do it at the grassroots level. And that's what we're going to do. Take care. Thank you, Danielle. You have a good night too. God bless. Take care, guys. We'll see you next time.